Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today is a full review from Masque Milano's new release. It's called Ray-Flection and it's inspired by an alien flower. So with this one, they did a live kind of launch on the internet for influencers, I guess, to listen in with the perfumer and the brand owners, and just listen to the inspiration and kind of how the perfumer went about creating it. And also we got to, which was really cool, we were given 3 little vials of 3 different accords that make up the perfume, plus the finished perfume, or a little sample of the finished perfume to listen in and to experience it together, which was great. So I'll walk you through the accords that build up the perfume. So the first accord that was talked about in this video that we got to smell was described kind of like a neon citrus. So this is a very invigorating, enlivening, bright citrus, like neon, made up of things like bergamot and grapefruit. And this is like, when you smell it on its own, it is super like fresh, like a sun explosion of citrus. And so that utilizes the top note of this fragrance, is a really kind of citrus note. And the second accord that we were shown was a Mimosa Accord, and this uses a real Mimosa Absolute, so it's really good quality naturals in here. Mimosa Absolute with an accord built around on top of it to kind of fill it out more, so to speak. And so there's this beautiful Mimosa Accord that builds up the core of the fragrance, paired with this, I guess you would say, a mid to base note of the third accord being a honey accord. So this kind of combination of beautiful, slightly not too sweet honey. So with that, the idea of the accords that build up the fragrance, I'll tell you how it smells when it all comes together. So when you first spray this one, the first thing you're going to get is a mix of beautiful, bright, invigorating citrus with a strong cardamom note. So I get a very noticeable cardamom that's, interestingly, I find cardamom kind of has 2 aspects. It can be quite cooling and fresh and piercing at one point, but also add kind of a warm spice at the same time as being cooling. So that's kind of what I get from cardamom. So you're going to get this quite loud, rounded, bold cardamom, bright citruses, and that's the introduction to the fragrance. As it starts to mellow out and that cardamom starts to chill out a little bit and the citruses tone down, you're going to start noticing this beautiful honeyed floral, and it comes together straight away. You're going to get this mimosa with this beautiful, almost syrupy honey that's it's never too sweet, but it's just enough to be like a slightly gourmand honey without being like completely gourmand or foodie or too, like I say, too sweet. It doesn't go too sweet on my skin. And so this lovely kind of honey note mixing with the florals. The floral, the mimosa aspect to it, to me, has slightly kind of, I would say, heliotrope-like vibes in places where it can smell a little bit slightly Play-Doh-y, slightly vanillic, slightly powdery, almost pollen-like would be a good way to express it. So it's almost like you're smelling the pollen on the breeze, which is something that was mentioned by the perfumer and the talking of the launch of this, that there is a kind of pollen-like aspect, and that definitely comes through. So mix of mimosa, slight, like I say, heliotrope-ish kind of vibes, which lends to this kind of dusty kind of pollen feeling, floral pollen, mixed with this, I'm not sure if syrupy is the right word, maybe almost kind of a watery honey, watery or syrupy honey. I can't quite decide, but it's almost like a translucent honey. It's like a golden hue of rich kind of sweetness that just melds in with the floral. It's very nice. The mid part of the perfume is quite beautiful. In the opening, on my skin, I would say, and on paper, maybe a little bit too much cardamom for me personally, and also the citrus is maybe a bit too intense just for my personal taste. And the way that that comes across in the opening to some women might be a little bit masculine. That combination of bright citrus and cardamom is used a lot in male fragrances, so that might give the impression of a slightly leaning masculine fragrance, possibly to some people. As it transitions into the mid, a completely unisex fragrance for sure. It's not so floral that men might think it's feminine. It's balanced perfectly with the honey, and it just works. It's very good. As it dries down, it just kind of chills out, mellows out, gets softer and softer, a little bit more musky, into this kind of skin scent, I suppose, as it just tails away and drifts off. And that's the best way I can describe it. If you're a fan of mimosa and honey, you'll probably really enjoy it. The projection and sillage felt modest on my skin for the first hour, but intimately around myself. It gives kind of a lovely kind of sweet warmth as you walk around when you get wafts of it. In terms of longevity for this, I get around 7 hours. I would say completely unisex, spring, autumn, probably winter too, but fairly versatile. I think you could probably wear that dressed up or casual. It's probably not one I would wear to work. Like, let's say if I worked in an office, it's probably not one I would wear in an office, but in general, relatively versatile. And altogether, I think it has a good mass appeal, very approachable, very easy to wear, very easy to enjoy. I think a lot of people will like this release. And yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you again next time with another. Take care, everyone. Bye.